Welcome to Saptarishis Astrology channel. I am Vinayak Bhatt, and on 1st of September this year, we are going to celebrate Rishi Panchami. On the day of Bhadrapada Shukla Paksha Panchami, this Rishi Panchami is celebrated. So this day is dedicated to all Saptarishis, and this day is considered auspicious to do Ganga Snan and donation. And on this day, we at Saptarishi Astrology is planning to do a series of video in which each video we are going to discuss on each Rishi and his contribution towards the Jyotish, like what we can learn from that Rishi regarding the Jyotish, like for example, Gemini Rishi. So his contribution like Gemini Sutram and what other Jyotish books we can get from Gemini Rishi. Similarly, Kashyap Rishi, Parashara, Brihaspati, every other Rishis we are going to discuss. Obviously, we are going to cover some other Rishis other than the Saptarishi also, and we are going to learn like what kind of content we can get from this literature. In this first video, we are going to discuss on the Kashyapa Rishi. We have Shri Dr. Nemani Rao ji, who already done lot of video in our channel. Like you can visit his one of the good lecture in our channel that is related to marriage. And recently he have done lecture on the uses of varna color in remedies. You should watch these two videos. These are very interesting, and there are many things to learn in this video. So, without wasting much time, I would like to invite Sri Dr. Nemani Rao ji, and we will learn about Kashyap Hora, that is from the Rishi Kashyap. So, what is this Kashyap Hora and what we can learn from this Kashyap Hora? So, all these things is covered in this video. So, watch it, subscribe to our channel, and give your comments, feedback, and suggestion in the comment section of this video. Thank you.
Namaskar. Vinayak, thank you for inviting me to talk about Kashyapa Maharishi and also Kashyapa Hora Nadi principles today. Today is August 7th, 2022. It's about 10:30 p.m. India time and 10 a.m. San Francisco time. I'm really honored and also blessed to talk about Kashyapa Maharishi. There's so much to talk because there's so much to learn about his lineage and how we all fit into that lineage. Let's try to explore that today. So what I would possibly do today's presentation standpoint, let me share with you some topics for today. Then possibly we'll see how best we can navigate this. The next 30-45 minutes, I will share some ideas and thought processes. Before that, I wanted to offer my pranams to my acharyas. Without their knowledge giving to me, I don't think I know anything. So this knowledge is directly coming from all these acharyas. Namaste all of to them. And also particularly for today's topic, R.G. Rao Garu, when I met him multiple times, came from USA to Bangalore. He was so kind to teach me various Nadi activities, Nadi Prashna methods, particularly Kashyapa Hora Nadi. So whatever I'm saying today, it is directly his knowledge. I know nothing. All the credit goes to him. Pranam, R.G. Rao Garu. So now coming back to today's topic of agenda, maybe I'll talk a few minutes about Kashyapa Maharishi, what's the origination, what's the lineage. Then we'll go into some Jyotic basic definitions of Kashyapa Hora. Then we'll also talk about planets and the causative effects of Kashyapa Hora defined by Sri R.G. Rao Garu. Then we also will say how the Hora Lord plays a significant role in a causative effect. And also what happens if we have a Hora Lord combined with multiple planets, and how do they give the causative effects also we'll see. And also we see there is an importance of considering the retrograde planets, which is very important in Kashyapa Hora. And also there are multiple principles given by R.G. Rao Garu in his book. So I try to condense them a little bit, but again, There are just illustrative purpose only. I would possibly suggest you to read his Kashyap Hora Nadi book and practice it. So possibly you'll see a good amount of success in understanding the planets when you practice that way. So, and also I'll give you some example charts just to showcase how to use this Kashyap Hora, and also references. I'll give something, and also, well, Q&A session possibly will not have, because I think we'll see. Maybe we'll have a common session for Q&A later on, right? So with that note, let me take into consideration Kashyap Hora. Actually, if you look at Kashyapa Rishi himself, Lord Brahma's son is Marichi, and Marichi and Kala Devi, those are the father and mother for Maharishi Kashyapa. And again, Marichi kaun hai? Marichi is the Manasaputra of Brahma himself, right? So this is a bigger drama, as we call. Srishti is nothing but a creation by various components. They're all very much interconnected. So let's try to put that kind of a mindset to understand how these are all interconnected, how we are actually part of this process, how we got originated. We'll see in a minute. That is why Lord Vishnu took a birth as a Vamana avatara from our Dashavataras, from Kashyapa and mother Aditi. See, that also tells us that Rigveda very clearly says Kashyapa Maharshi is nothing but a Deva Pita or Sakshat Paramatma. Because of this, because Lord Vishnu himself took an avatara off in the planet Earth as a Vamana from Kashyapa Maharshi and Aditi. So that is how we can understand the bigger picture of this origination of Kashyapa Maharshi. Now, if you go into a little bit more details, for example, a lot of people will actually praise Surya Bhagavan, right? One of the Surya Bhagavan stotram is Sapta Radharudam Prachandam Kashyapatmajam Sweta Padmam Dharam Devam Tam Suryam Pranamamyaham. So if you look at this particular sloka, or praising sun god, Sapta Aswaradharudam, Sapta Aswaradha Arudham, which means 7 horses of Radha chariot, that's what the Lord Surya actually uses it. Prachandam, so bright, right? And also Kashyapatmajam. Iska matlab, he's the son. Who is the son? Sun god is the son of Kashyapa Maharshi. That's what it is saying. Sweta Padmam Dharam Devam. So he's always have the brightest light. Also have the white lotus flowers as well. Who? Sun god. Tam Suryam Pranamamyaham. So this particular sloka itself is telling that the origination of sun, the planetary king of sun, planet sun, is actually originated or son of Kashyapa Maharshi itself, right? Now, if you go to the second point of view here, if you go to the next slide, the mouse works here. It is. Kashyapa Maharshi has got many wives. There are 13 wives actually, as a matter of fact. These are all the daughters of Daksha Prajapati. Daksha Prajapati has got so many daughters, and some of the daughters got married to Kashyapa Maharshi. Some of them married to Chandra, 27 nakshatras, and things like that. Maybe we'll talk more on some other day. If you look at Aditi, is the first wife. The Aditi is the mother of all the devatas, basically Adityas. Remember, we have in Jyotish Shastra 12 Rashis, 12 Adityas. They are Vishnu, Shakra, Aryama, Dhata, Vidhata, Tvasta, Pusha, Vivatsvanas, Savita, Mitra Varuna, and also Amsa and Bhaga. So if you look at all these are all basically the various forms of Surya in Aditya forms, representing each of those Jyotish Shastra Rashis for us. So there's a straight away link for us. Dwadasa Jyotirlingas we also have. We'll talk about this later on. Right now is basically Adityas, right? That is the source of Adityas from Maharshi Kashyapa and Aditi. These gods are born. From the second wife, Diti. Diti's children are demons, Daityas. They are basically like a Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakasipu, Bali Chakravarti, Banasura. These are all coming from Diti as a mother, right? And the third one is called Danu. Danu is nothing but the origination of Danavas. Danu, Danavas, which means the Danavas are basically cousins of Daityas or Adityas. So, which means if you can see, there is a gods and also demons and also bad people. They're all cousins coming from Maharishi Kashyapa as well as Aditi and Diti and other wives as well. So let's keep that in a point. We'll combine all these points coming in a minute. Then the other wife name is Vinata. So the Vinata has got two sons. I think many of you already know Arurava and also called Aruna and also Garuda. So Garuda, you know, the magnificent bird. He's got a lot of good stories we already heard many times. And Arurava, Rurava means the body parts below the second part of the half, the thighs and legs and foot were not formed because Vinata was a little curious. Why I'm not getting the children? My other sister who is married to Kashyapa Maharshi, Kadru has already got children. So that's why she was a little impatient. So that is called jealousy. So that is why she got a birth given to these people, the two sons labeled Arurava and Aruna, or basically Aruna, Garuda. So the message what we're trying to see was these are the characteristics created by Maharshi Kashyapa along with the wives as indications. Means the sun god is coming in, it's such a brightness, common, and Diti is also giving the birth of the demons, which means we have those within us as well. And third is Danu, giving the birth of Danavas. So we human beings coming from the same lineage, we have all these characteristics. We need to understand how to overcome them as well. So now let's go to Kadru. Kadru is another wife. She gave the birth of all Nagas, the Sarpas, basically snakes. For example, the biggest tier one, such as Ananta, Vasuki, Takshaka, Nahusa. These are the snake kingdom was created, given the birth by Kadru. So now think about it. Rakshasas, Devatas, demons. Now we are talking about the Pakshis. We already talked about talk about Garuda and also Arurava. Now we are talking about snakes. So it means the kingdom of living kingdom is being created by Kashyapa Maharshi with the consorts of various wives. Now let's go to the next one, Surabhi. Surabhi, I think most of you already know, this is the descendants were cows and buffaloes, where the cows are actually called, Surabhi is one of the best cows, as you all know, is called, it gives you anything you want. It has got his different forms of names, it's called Nandini, Sunanda, Kamadhenu, Sumana. There are so many names out there. These are the cows and also buffaloes give the necessary resources for us, which means the kingdom of that category is also being created by Kashyapa Maharshi himself, right? With the Surabhi as his wife. If you go to the next one, Krodhavasa, means Krodha, means, Krodha, it's one of these Shadripus, right? She's got 14,000 children known as Asuras. So she gave a birth of those many thousands of, just this is a symbolic meaning we need to understand. 40,000, 12,000, I mean, keep that aside. But you're saying that Krodhavasa means the approach itself is Krodha, right? So that's what I think Asura demons were also Krodhavasas. They were born from again Kashyapa Maharshi with Krodhavasa as a wife. Then other one is Arista. Aristas are in a nice way or in a different way, we can say these are all Gandharvas. So the Gandharvas are basically the singers of celestial dancers. They sing in the heavens and give lots of healing abilities and those kind of things. They came from Arista as well. So if you look at, and also in a negative point of view, Aristas or Gandharvas are reborn as Duryodhana's, the siblings, the 98 brothers of Duryodhana in Mahabharata, we can see them. And also if you look at, the Ramayana, if you go to Meghanadha, is Indrajita, son of this Lord Ravana. And also you can see these are all the characteristics, behaviors of Arista. They are very nice people, they're powerful people. At the same time, they have that the negative energy in the thinking itself, right? So which means the creation itself is coming to this. Like that, you have Muni, the Apsaras are actually taking birth in this Muni wife comes with the concept of Maharshi Kashyapa. And also you have Surasa, which is basically another form of snakes. And also, if you look at all these pieces together, the whole living kingdom was created by Kashyapa Maharshi, and also in the conjunction with all these the wives as well. So we, in my opinion, we're all part of this creation by Kashyapa Maharshi. So we should actually thank him because we're all lineage of Kashyapa. So I think possibly I would say we are all part of the lineage of Kashyap Maharshi himself, with a particular consort associated with that. With that, we'll go to the next topic in a second. Okay, now having talked about Kashyap Maharshi, let's take a few minutes about Kashyap Hora Nadi principles. We'll go into some foundations, basics, and causativeness given the planets by Astrologer. Then we'll also take some examples. Okay, with that note, let me share my presentation material. If you can see. Okay, maybe it's ready. So if you look at today, the Hora, Jagannath Hora settings also I want to show you. There are multiple ways you can actually set the Hora. So I think based on my practice for several years, I found that at sunrise Hora 1/24th of sunrise, this particular setting, it's working. Again, there are multiple options you have in Jagannath Hora, any other software. So try to use and experiment and see which one works for you, right? This is what I'm using it. And also you can see from a Jagannath Hora standpoint, you can see the Hora Lord in this. Maybe if I could put some presentation, maybe not. So let me use, so this is where you can see the Hora Lord Mercury today. So that's what possibly you wanted to see, right? So use the chart as we go. Now, if we go to the next slide, if you look at the basics of Nadi, Nadi has got a multiple meanings in Sanskrit, right? One meaning is swara, the breath movement. And also we use in the marriage matching alliances, Vedic astrology, we also use something called Nadi Kuta, right? And also Nadi astrology, a small unit of orc, zodiac. Sorry about that. It's called a Nadi Amsha, Ardhanadi Amsha is also there. And also in Ayurveda, we also say Nadi has a pulse. Just looking at the pulse, Nadi. So the various meanings of Nadi, we will use this slightly in a different way for Prashna, the Horari point of view. And before we go into that, let's understand what is Prashna again. Prashna is a meanings. Some of them are a question or a query regarding anything to everything. This includes to know the desire, the intention of the questioner. So the interesting part was we need to understand as an astrologer, when you practice for quite a bit, you'll easily find out when somebody comes to you to ask a question, they don't need to tell you why they're here. You should be able to tell the reason, what is bothering them, what actually they're thinking in the mind. The various methods are there. Kashyap Hora Nadi also can be applied. You can see that. It's called Chintana. Anything with Chintana, thinking, can be identified as well. So in coming back to the Prashna is like a judicial inquiry, an examination of astrological inquiry into the past, present, and the future, right? So this could be conducted by a single astrologer like you and me, or a group of astrologers. They do sometimes for a Deva Prashna, Astamangala Prashna, those kind of, there are different types of horary methods. So today we'll be talking about Kashyap Hora is one of the many methods which I've learned from various acharyas, right? So before we do, I always pray this particular sloka to get the divine blessings for me to see the best of the best from this particular prashna for anybody who's coming to me, right? So find out a method, find out a sloka, find out a where to pray to the God so that your intelligence is applied to see the best, to see the light, Jyoti, on this Prashna Kundali. I usually pray Janani Janma Saukhyanam Vardhanim Kula Sampadam Padavi Purva Punyanam Likhayate Prashna Kundali. I recite this to before creating the prashna. I'm not writing prashna kundali, likhayate, but we have a software, but logically you're creating the prashna chart. So try to find out what's the best way for you to get your Istadevata, other Deva mantras you're doing to invoke your knowledge base. Right, coming back to basics, continue again. As I said, there are many methods in Prashna. One of them is Kashyap Hora Nadi, which I'll be talking about this to you. And this is knowledge directly came from Sri Rao Garu. I know nothing. So it's completely his knowledge. If I'm making any mistakes, it's me, not Rao Garu. So please read his books. I'll provide the list maybe at later point of time. Right. If you look at the basics of the Grahas, Gunas, and Tatvas, as you can see in the South Indian format of Rasi chart, Mesha Rashi, Vrishabha, Mithuna, Karkataka, Simha, Kanya, Tula, Vrishchika, Dhanush, Makara, and Kumbha, and Meena. But they always have a pattern. If you look at, I mentioned here the directions. Meena Rashi is always pointing to north direction, Mesha is east, then Taurus is south, and Gemini is west. So the northeast, southwest directions will repeat again 3 times, right? And also, if you can see, the fire element is east, which is Mesha Rashi. Another fire element is Leo, Simha Rashi, same as with Dhanush. So that repeat. These are the foundations you already know. If not, just brush it up, these ones, right? The same way, I prefer calling or maybe taking the names in Sanskrit because the vibration is really very powerful for me rather than using any other language. For example, the Graha, Surya, Chandra, Kuja, Buddha, Guru, Shukra, Seni, Rahu, and Ketu. We have the equivalent English names as well. Similarly, Rashi names also try to use Sanskrit as possible. See if that makes any difference for your calculations, predictions, analysis at all, right? So then talking about the planets and their causative effects in Kashyap Hora. The causative effects, this particular word used by Sri Rao Garu, which has got a very deeper meaning. That's why he always insisted me. Raghu, he used to call me Raghu. In order to understand the planets, behaviors, causative effects, you must study Puranas and Itihasas. So I think I mentioned in my other videos as well. Please try to spend some time understanding, reading them. There's so much of relevance. We need to bring this to Jyotish in order for us to understand Jyotish. Because we need to understand we need to have a conversation. Darshan, we have to see the planets in the horoscope, the Prashna Kundali. So we have to have that spiritual inclination, spiritual knowledge base to interact with the planets are actually showing in that Prashna Kundali, right? In order to do that, reading Puranas, Itihasas is very, very important. So spend some time, please. Now, planets and causative effects of Kashyap Hora. Surya is a sun. The planet represents the activities of job related, government related, royal courts, father, light, gold. These are the Samkara Tatvas, right? Causative effects. Again, this list is not exhaustive enough. The huge list in the book of Sri Rao Garu, please read that. And also remember this sloka we have. Udaye Brahma Swarupam Madhyane tu Maheshwaraha, Astamane Swayam Vishnu, Straimurti Divakaraha. If you decode this, understand this, Udaye Brahmaswarupam, if the sun in 30 degrees, first 10 degrees, Udaye Brahmaswarupam, means you have to see the sun in the Hora chart as creator, Brahma. And Madhyane, second portion of it is called Maheshwara. You know, Maheshwara characteristics, qualities. Sun will bring those into the action for the chart, Prashna chart. Astamane Swayam Vishnu. In the evening part, he himself behaves like a Vishnu. So these are the characteristics of Surya Bhagavan. In a Kashyap Hora chart, we have to see. For that matter, possibly I may not have the time to see all of these for the Grahas, but you have to see that kind of detail level for each and every planet, right? For example, Chandra. Chandra represents the travel, mother, cheating. Cheating means cunningness. It's not in a bad way or negative way, but cheating is a characteristic of Krishna Paksha, Chandra. Waning moon, paternity debts, thefts, digging wells, female aspects. There are so many Karakatvas. This is again a small list here. So please read the necessary books on that. Kuja. The planet Kuja represents brothers, enemy, machine, excess of heat, because Agni Tattva, husband, police, and weapons. All these fire elemented activities Kuja represents as well. Then you have Buddha. The planet Buddha represents business, friends, intelligence, education, land. Remember the distinction between Buddha and Guru. Buddha is the intelligence and Guru is the wisdom, right? So intelligence and Buddha, if we have practiced quite a bit, the intelligence will become into wisdom level, right? So that's what we need to understand at a deep level. The Guru, of course, the planet Guru represents Jiva, health, present position in life, improvements, question regarding success, those kind of things will be denoted by Guru Graha in the Kashyap Hora Prashna Nadi chart. Shukra, Venus. The planet Shukra represents wife, elder sister, female aspect, wealth, vehicles, house, luxury, those kind of things. Shani represents the career matters, job, work, karma, elder brother, matters pertaining to uncles, those kind of things. And Shani delivers the results of karma in all individuals, including what the native is due, which is the auspicious, inauspicious, doesn't matter. He's the delivery of the karma. That's what I think we understand. The shadow planets, Rahu and Ketu. Rahu represents the wheel, giant wheel, and huge in size, darkness, grandfather, Pitamaha, head, front door of the house, snake, huge snake, big mouth. Travel, if you're looking at a travel like a train, a huge ship, anything bigger is basically Rahu, right? Ketu. The planet Ketu represents impedimental obstructions, something which causes troubles, something which calls intervention by the administration. That's why we call Dwaja. Dwaja is nothing but a flag. Flag is nothing but the government, right? So the litigations, disputes, trap, grandmother, Mata Maha. Earlier we said Rahu is Pitamaha and Ketu is Mata Maha, and Darba grass, and there's so many other Karakatvas. You have to see the causative effects in the books more. Okay. Now, so the question is, once we understand the basic causativeness of the planets, Karakatvas, then we need to see how the Hora Lord is in a combination with this causative planets will give the effects on the Prashna Nadi, right? So let's take some examples. If you see Hora Lord is Sun, if it is with the Moon, then they indicate the native's father will be much traveling, or one of the persons supporting him will be traveling characteristics, right? Because you said, remember we said Moon is the travel aspects. So combining with this Sun is a father. So that combination, again, it's not that simple as you see here. We'll see a little bit more deeper, and also by making some practice, then it's much easier. Similarly, if the Moon is first now, Hora Lord is Moon and Sun is there, the question regarding the father, regarding the notable person who is subjected to the problems. Just see that the change of the sun Hora Lord to moon Hora Lord, the combination, the effect has got changed. So we need to digest this information in such a way. What is the Hora Lord and who is actually with conjunction with the particular Hora Lord? Similarly, Saturn is Hora Lord and Mars, the native question regarding career, expecting further prosperity or regarding a promotion in the career. That could be the possible question that the person may be asking. Similarly, Mercury and Venus indicates native gains profits through land and wealth. Mercury and Venus combination. Similarly, Jupiter Venus is asking about a wife and wealth, about the prosperity. And Venus plus moon combination. It says questions about financial transactions. The native money is under control. Somebody is suffering with bad debts. What are the possibilities? Somebody is cheating here. Moon is also involved. So understanding the Karakattvas along with the Hora Lord with the one single planet, just an example here. And also, if you go into more planets, now you have multiple planets, Sun, Ketu, and Saturn. What is Sun represents father, Ketu represents litigation, and Saturn represents sun as a sun, right? So which means this gives indications of litigation aspects between the father and the son because of some misunderstanding, because of Ketu is in between. So they may be in a litigation, they may be in a court case, they're not cordially discussing things. That's what it is possibly indicating to us. Now, another sequence would be, again, Hora Lord could be with more than 2 or 3 planets as well. Sun plus Ketu plus Venus and Saturn. We already seen Sun is father and Sun is a Saturn out there. The last 2 points, the Sun and the Saturn, which is father and the Sun, and fighting in Ketu litigations for what? Venus for wealth, in between. House, property, luxury items, some kind of a wealth. They're actually, in a not a good cordial manner. That's what we can see. So like that, I think, and possibly I will be leaving this presentation material with all of you. You can see some examples, but again, we need to go into much more details from the book and also practice as you go, right? So other point was retrograde planets, because we all know retrograde planets has got some impact in our normal astrological calculations and analysis and predictions. In particularly for Kashyap Hora Nadi, we have to take the planet Vakra motion, then consider the aspect of the previous sign. I'll show you some examples. So this is very important. Again, this is exclusively for Kashyap Hora Nadi. Please do not apply with other methods, because this is how I've learned. If you apply a particular method, stick to that particular method. Don't mix multiple methods, because then you can possibly you can justify the past events easily, but you will not be able to predict, give analysis properly. So my suggestion, because I made these mistakes earlier in my life, 10, 15 years ago. So stick to one particular method, apply that, and keep that aside, stick to another principle method, or these two are telling the same message or giving the same result. That may be a better way, scientific way, right? So when we say the retrograde planet with the friendly planets, then the native will enjoy the beneficial results. Means when we're saying the previous sign, if the previous sign has got friendly planets with this Hora Lord, then you can expect beneficial. If it has got enemy planets, then naturally expect a negative principle. Just keep this principle inside. We'll apply all this in an example in coming minutes, right? So, for example, another thing we need to see the exchange of planets, parivartana, just like any standard Jyotish, nothing spectacular here. In this example, the native has appeared in the Mars Hora. When this person came for a consultation, the Hora running that time was Mars. I highlighted in the red color. And as you can see, Mars is debilitated in Cancer. Mars may be in the worst state, but he's in the house of Moon, and Moon is in the house of Mars, right? So which means there is a parivartana happening here. This needs to be considered during the Hora chart for final calculations analysis as well. Consider retrogrades, consider exchange of planets as one of the key components for the analysis. Now, there are, as I mentioned, there are many method principles mentioned by Sri R.G. Rao Garu. So I think I've condensed, I kind of combined a little bit for my mind. Maybe you might find these are useful. If not, I would say go back, read that book multiple times. So you might come back with your own consolidated principles as well. So let me go one by one. The first one is to take the Hora Lord and see in which sign the direction is placed. If other planets are in the same sign or direction sign, then consider them conjoined Prashna reading. Very simple. If you see those signs, the directional signs, north, east, west, and south, if any of those planets are placed, then combine them as if they're conjoined. That's rule number one. Principle two, if there are more than one planet in any particular sign or same directional sign, put them into their ascending order effect according to the degrees. Then we need to see who has got degrees lower to higher order. Then that is the sequence we'll be putting in them together for the analysis point of view. And also check whether this planet is just came to this particular Rasi from the previous Rasi or is going to the next Rasi. Make a note as well, because they may be close to give the effect of that particular. I'm talking about the very close point, like 29 degrees, or maybe 0 degrees kind of situations. Look for any planets who are placed in 2nd, 7th, and 11th signs from the Hora Lord and take their causative effect, and then consider them in the Hora chart reading. This is a very important principle. Look at the 2nd, 7th, and 11th, as explained. There's nothing difficult to understand, I guess. The same way, look at the planets from the 2nd, 5th, and 7th signs for Hora Lord, consider their friendly and inimical nature. So, causative effect we have to consider from planet rule number 3. Remember, this is the highlight. 2nd, 7th, and 11th, take the causative effects. But any planets in the 2nd, 5th, and 7th, take their inimical nature or friendly nature. The two distinct things we need to remember, right? So keep a note. Then if there are planets in the 3rd and 11th Hora chart, the nature of those planets must be considered. The nature of the planet, which we already know, the nature of each planet. If the Hora Lord is associated with more than one inimical planet, then it is to be decided the strength of the Hora Lord is weak. If you got multiple planets considered, connected, conjoined with Hora Lord, then naturally Hora Lord is getting weak. Just a standard Jyotish principle. Even if the Hora Lord is exalted and is with the inimical planet, then it is to be predicted that native would be not able to enjoy the success of their effort. There will be delay, there will be struggle, which is again a standard basic astrology principle. Then same thing for benefics and malefics you can apply. If the Hora Lord is exalted and having an exchange with other planet, with the planet involved in the exchange with beneficial, then one can expect. So very simple again. When the exchange is taking place, is the planet is friendly to this planet, Hora Lord, or not? Vice versa. So think about those things. Same thing as the beneficial nature or maybe acquisitions and the suffering acquisition, those kind of things is talking about principle 9. Just giving the effect. Principle 10, Moon Shukla Paksha waxing, then it is strong. It is Krishna Paksha is weak, just a very high level to be considered in conjunction with other principles as well. And the question comes is if sometimes, if more than one person comes for consultation at the same time, how do we do it, right? The first person is a Hora Lord. And once the job is done, suppose you have a multiple or series of people coming in, you've already given the appointment for them on the in-person or on the phone or maybe on the web, then apply this principle, right? First question is Hora Lord. Second person is 5th sign from the Hora Lord. And third person, 9th from the Hora Lord. I think I possibly have not seen myself anything more than 3 people, so I would probably say, cast a new chart and ask them to come a little later time or give some other different time, just to make sure your spiritual energies are at that level. If the native appears to do the Rahu column, again, this is a question some of the folks may apply in Southern India, South India, some people may not apply in different parts of the world. Don't worry about it. If you don't use it, don't worry about Rahu column. If you do, then check the Hora Lord. Is it friendly with the Rahu? If it is inimical, check that point and consider for your delineation of the final results as well. Okay, with that chart, with that note, maybe I'll give you some examples just to put all these pieces together. Then probably you'll see some homework for you to take this back into action. Practice it. Practice is very, very important. Kashyap Hora Nadi is a very, very finest method, which I use quite often. I also have some other methods I use just to validate and make sure that this is working for me. Okay. So the example charts are, for example, take this native daughter having a quarrels and litigations. That's a high, as you can see in the header. So the native approaches in Saturn Hora. When the person consults, then we found that Saturn Hora is running. That's why I call Saturn was highlighted in red color. Here the moon is in ninth to Saturn, indicating some acquisitions. See if you can see Saturn is placed in Capricorn, moon is placed in Virgo, so it's the ninth place. So you can see that ninth directional sign, it's combined. So Saturn plus moon is basically, we say that some kind of acquisitions. Moon is also mother. 11th to Saturn is Mercury placed, where in Vrishchika Rashi, which is a female planet, daughter, right? And Mars is in between them. Hence, the native daughter is with her husband, but having some kind of challenges. By delineating these, the principles of what we see, applying to this here, you'll understand a little bit more. So continuing to this was the moon is 11th on Scorpio, right? And hence the aspects of moon gives effects on Mercury, Venus, and Mars. So that indicates that the cunningness and also misunderstanding between husband and wife. That's the reason why this person consulting you, then you can take some other actions and some kind of other suggestions. We can to tell them what to do, and those kind of things will be in the next slide. So how do we do this? At the time of Prashna, Guru was in Simha Rashi, right? And he's not aspecting either Chandra or Shani, the Hora Lord. There's no aspect at all. So when Guru transits over to Kanya Rashi, find out how much time it takes based on the timing. And Chandra is there and also aspect Shani, the Hora Lord, by fifth house aspect. And also they're in the same direction as south direction. I repeat again, Jupiter when transits to south, and the south already the Saturn is there, so it'll have an aspect. So Jupiter will aspect Saturn that way. So the remedial process, the problems try to get resolved by the time, right? So if you look at the direction aspects, it's very important for us to consider. And also when the transit Guru enters Kanya within a period of 1 to 1.5 years, the problem can get resolved, right? That's what we need to say. The timing we need to fine tune. There are some other methods, maybe I'll talk later on, or maybe you can apply your standard transit Gochara principles to find out. When the Jupiter is there, how far into the Rashi of 30 degrees, how much time does it make to make connect with the moon and Saturn, what degrees they are in, you can fine tune accordingly. Now, the other example was change of a place. And the native approached for consultation Jupiter Hora, and Jupiter is in the sign of Mars, which is basically in the Scorpio, which is the northern direction. And native also career indicates industrial. That's what we can say because it is in the Scorpio. Mercury is in the 11th from Jupiter, and Mercury is aspected by moon from the 7th, indicating Mercury is a relative or a friend pertaining to lands. See, we're talking about Mercury's friend and lands, bringing those karakattvas, the causativeness. Moon indicating cunningness, as we already discussed before, and hence the native is suffering due to cheating through relative and close friends. Just emerging that message to you when you look at this Hora chart. Also, Jupiter and Moon are in North, therefore the native will travel to distant places. That's interesting, right? So let's see more. According to the directional aspects, now you can say Jupiter plus Moon, because both are northern direction. So native will have to go some changes within a duration of 7 to 8 months. Why I said 7 to 8 months? Because Jupiter residing 1 year in a sign where he has to already pass 4 months by the time when we cast this chart. So it takes about another 7 to 8 months to get to that level, right? So I think that's how you can time. That's how you can also see the problems. How can they be solved in the sense by giving timing as well as other things as well, right? Hence, the native will have to undergo some changes within a period of 8 months. And next, we can see Moon is placed in second to retrograde Saturn. Hence, the native has got a dilemma whether to change the position, take this new job, shall we go there? That's what it is struggling. That's what the native is actually thinking, to take this job or not, right? But retrograde Saturn is aspecting rare sign, the previous sign, which is basically Capricorn. With that, if you bring the Saturn to the Capricorn, from there, 11th house is Jupiter. So it is basically giving the native will definitely enjoy because Jupiter's blessing will be there. He'll definitely like the change and the beneficial factors. So he should be moving to the new job, change of place. That's what I think you can see, right? I think take more time to understand the Rashi's Karakatvas, planet Karakatvas, and Kashyap Hora Nadi principles, and put all these pieces together, the causativeness, friendliness, timing. It's a beautiful method to practice, okay? So if you can also see in the bottom, I said when Saturn reaches the Pisces, at the same time, it can be considered as a Saturn plus Moon plus Jupiter, because why? Saturn with Moon in northern direction, and also Jupiter is already in northern direction. So as principles for the Kashyap Hora, take this directional strength together. So Saturn, Moon, and Jupiter will be together. That confirms the change is expected for the native's career as well, right? So, and also Ketu and Sun and Venus are on the east side. If you look at that one, Saturn is the 11th from Ketu. They can see that some of the money matters and benefits due to the native or in litigation. And anti-clockwise, Ketu is passing already at 3/4 degrees. Why I'm saying 3/4 degrees? Because I've seen the number of degrees there, longitude-wise. Just check that one. So you will possibly calculate 30 degrees is 12 months, or depends on the planet, 18 months. Then you can calculate approximately. So we can say that the concluding litigation activities will possibly take about 3 to 4 months to get taken care. According to directional aspects, Guru and Chandra, the native have a change of place within 7 to 8 months, because Guru resides for 1 year in sign, whereas he already finished 3 to 4 months. So when he goes to Vrishchik Rasi to Dhanush Rasi, it takes about end of 6 to 7 months basically. So the timing is, I think I've mentioned multiple times, you can take accordingly and provide the fructification time as well. We'll take maybe 1 or 2 examples, then probably we'll conclude the session. And this person comes to with the question of saying, I do not have male children, right? So he appears in the Saturn Hora. Saturn Hora, the planet is in 5th and 9th suns, Ketu and Jupiter are considered. So if you look at Saturn, who is placed in 5th? Ketu is there, southern direction, and Jupiter is also southern direction in Virgo. So we have Saturn, Venus, Ketu, and Jupiter, directional point of view. Now, if you take those Karakatvas, the causativeness, Ketu and Jupiter are considered, and Saturn is with Venus and with Ketu. Ketu is a flag, that is a kind of jurisdiction, and also reputed planet is a Jupiter. Hence, the native is coming from a consultation from a respectable and wealthy family. So they did not mention to you, but as you can see, Saturn, Ketu, flag, administrative, power, political, Jupiter, you can tell that this person is actually belongs to a rich and influential family as a first observation. And the native does not have any good combinations to have male children, because male issue yoga is governed by the planets Sun and Jupiter from Kashyap Hora. But Sun is under the control of Rahu and placed in 11th from Saturn and Venus. So Saturn and Venus both are enemies to Surya, the Sun. Mercury is also with Surya, and Mars is enemy to Mercury. There's so many inimical aspects, unfriendly characteristics are basically indicated in this particular chart. Let's continue. So hence Mercury is not strong. Mercury becoming a neutral. It's not giving any positive. Also, Jupiter is not having any planet associated adjoining signs. This is very important, Kashyap Hora. Any planet is in the adjacent signs, then the planet gets strength, right? Since the Sun also becomes weak and Jupiter becomes helpless. Jupiter wanted to help, but he doesn't have a strength by him. Nobody is in the neighborhood, right? Besides, the Moon meant for Om, but he's with the retrograde Mars. So finally, it can be deducted that the native coming for a questioning has possibly no yogas to have a male children, right? So that's what we are saying so far. Next, if we go a little bit more deeper, the Karaka for male issues are Surya and Guru, as I mentioned before. Surya is afflicted by Rahu, and Guru has no planet on the other side of it, hence the both cannot help the native. From Hora Lord Shani, the 7th is occupied by Chandra, as you can see in the Cancer, and own house, but with Vakra Kuja, and as a result of Kuja also get afflicted by Shani, right? That's what we saw because of the 7th aspect, because Vakra is going back to the previous sign. And the native will not have any yoga for male issues at the time of Prashna. Surya with Rahu indicates Sarpa Dosham as well. Again, we are bringing out standard Jyotish principles in conjunction with this. From a parental side, and it is difficult to remove this dosha as Guru has rendered weak due to planet in either of its signs. So I think I gave lots of pointers in this example. I'm sure it will not probably get you right away, but I think listen to this maybe multiple times. Read the Ajiraga's book. Possibly it might give some clues for you. Now, another short example is separation from beloved. The native approached in Mercury Hora for a consultation. Mercury was in Scorpio for a few minutes before the time native consulting. That's why, remember, I told you, check how the movement of the Grahas, particularly Hora Lord. Hora Lord just moved from Scorpio to Dhanush when this person came. I made a note on that. Mercury just entered Sagittarius, hence it is indication that native has just left his beloved wife. Why? Because Venus is the wife and Mercury Hora Lord left and moved to Sagittarius. It is giving indication to you as an astrologer. I think this native has moved out from his wife. Following acquisitions on her, misunderstanding between husband and wife. We'll talk about why in a minute. This is because Venus is in the 11th house from Saturn and Moon. See that? 11th house connection we have. We need to take the enmity and also causative effects as well. So going deeper with this analysis, in this case, the problems get solved by intervention of a noble person who extends his helping hand. Because the Dhanush, in Dhanush, we have Kuja, we have Buddha, we have Surya. Between Surya and Guru indicating the intervention. Why Guru? Because Rahu, Kuja, Surya, Buddha, Rahu, Mars, Sun, Mercury in eastern direction of Sagittarius. We have eastern direction, Jupiter was also there. So that's why we're taking Karakatvas together, combined together. So Guru is Vakra, means Guru is retrograde. So he will be seeing the northern direction. From the east, he'll see the previous sign. So he'll be going to the northern direction. Guru gets into direction motion into 4 to 5 months, right? Because based on the time he has taken, it takes another 4 to 5 months. Surya and Dhanush, which is in the east sign, Meena is the north. By the time Surya leaves Dhanush and enters to Meena Rashi, the problem will be solved because then he has got aspect with the Jupiter is moving from the previous retrograde to the Cancer. Surya gets to north direction of Surya, north direction of Buddha will actually solve the problem for this person. So applying the transits, applying these principles structurally, systematically, probably you can see lots of things, right? Let's see. So with that note, possibly I will stop the presentation now. I think I gave some pointers. Possibly it'll be helpful for you to take these, listen to this conversation, this presentation multiple times, read the books of references which I mentioned here. I've used these concepts extensively from R.G. Rao books, Kashyap Hora Nadi, and also some of his other following books. Fundamentals of Rao's System of Astrology, Kashyap Hora Nadi, Bhrigunandi Nadi, unbelievable books. So I would say take some time, read them, and possibly you will really like this Kashyap Hora Nadi. With that note, I'll take a leave from now, and I will say thank you, R.G. Rao, for giving this knowledge to me. I'm sharing with all of these people today. With this, Om Gurave Namaha, Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha, Om Suryaya Namaha, Om Sriyai Namaha, Om Sriyai Namaha, Om Sriyai Namaha. Sarvam Sri Mahalakshmi Arpanamastu. Swasti.